I opened the wrong door. She was removing her armor. She looked directly at me.
Tell me that means nothing. I cannot tell you that.
In my defense, nobody told me that knocking was a Kethari concept. I had been aboard the Verdant Sovereign for exactly 9 days when it happened. 9 days of learning which corridors led where, which meal times corresponded to which bell tones, which crew members spoke enough standard to explain things like, for example, which doors required a signal before entering, and why, and what the cultural consequences of not doing so might be. Nobody had covered that last part. I was Lieutenant Marsh Calloway, the first human exchange officer assigned to a Kethari vessel under the new Interspecies Cooperation Accord. The Kethari were, by any objective measure, extraordinary. Tall, precise, with skin that ranged from deep brown to pale olive and eyes that came in colors no human iris had ever produced. They moved through their ship with a quiet efficiency that I had spent 9 days trying not to visibly admire, and they had been, on the whole, politely tolerant of the fact that I kept doing things wrong in ways they had not anticipated needing to explain. I was looking for the secondary navigation bay. I had the directions. I had apparently misread them. Open the door. Princess Lyra-Keth, commander of the Verdant Sovereign, daughter of the High Seat, and the single most formidable individual I had encountered in 9 days of formidable individuals, was in the process of removing her ceremonial armor. I registered green, gold. The particular brightness of her eyes in the moment they found mine across the room. Close the door. I stood in the corridor for approximately 4 seconds, which is how long it took my brain to finish the sentence it had started forming, and then I walked very quickly in the direction of anywhere else. I made it to the crew common area before First Officer Sareth found me. Sareth was the crew member whose standard was best and whose patience with my errors was, I had come to understand, essentially professional in nature. He looked at my face, and then he looked at the direction I had come from, and something in his expression shifted in a way I could not interpret. "Lieutenant," he said carefully, "where have you been?" I explained. The silence that followed was of a very specific quality. I had learned to read Kethari silences over 9 days. This one meant that something had happened that Sareth did not know how to translate quickly. "Let me be certain I understand," he said. "You entered the commander's private chamber. By accident. Wrong door. I'm sorry, I'll apologize to her directly. While she was removing her armor." "Yes." I closed the door immediately. "And she saw you?" "For about 2 seconds, yes." Another silence. Longer. "Marsh," Sareth said, which was the first time he had used my given name in 9 days. "I need you to stay here. Do not speak to anyone. Do not go anywhere. I will return." "Is it that bad?" "Yes." He looked at me with an expression that I would later understand was not alarm but the very careful management of alarm. "It is," he said slowly. "Not bad in the way you are currently imagining." He came back 40 minutes later with the ship's cultural liaison officer, a quiet woman named Veth who had, until this moment, primarily interacted with me through written documentation. They sat across from me in the common area and explained. Among the Kethari, the removal of ceremonial armor was a deeply private act. Not in the way human privacy worked, but in a ritualistic sense. The ceremonial armor of a ranking officer was, in Kethari culture, understood to be an extension of their formal identity. The person beneath it, in the moment of removal, was understood to be in a state of transition, between their public role and their private self. To witness this moment uninvited was a significant breach. To witness it and be seen, for the person in transition to make eye contact with a witness, was something else entirely. In Kethari tradition, Veth said, choosing her words with notable care, when a person of rank makes eye contact with a witness during armor removal, it is understood as a deliberate choice. An acknowledgement. An invitation. Process this. "An invitation to what?" I said. though I had already begun to suspect. To courtship, Veth said. Formal. Binding by custom, though not by law in cross-species contexts. She looked at me because I opened the door, I said. It was a reflex. Yes, Veth said. We understand that. Does she? Another Kethari silence. This one felt different from all the ones before it. The commander, Sereth said, has requested your presence. She was in the navigation bay when I arrived. The correct one this time. In full armor again. The emerald at her breastplate caught the light of the star charts projected above the central table, and she was studying them with the focused attention of someone who was not thinking about star charts. I stood at the door, the open door this time, which felt pointed, and waited. Lieutenant Calloway, she said without looking up. Commander. You have been briefed. I have. She was quiet for a moment. The star charts moved slowly above us. I want to be precise with you, she said, because I understand that precision is something humans value. We do. What occurred was an accident on your part. He paused. What occurred on my part was not. I stayed very still. You have been on this ship for 9 days, Lyra said. In that time you have made 17 cultural errors, all of them minor, none of them malicious. You have learned from 15 of them without being told twice. You have asked questions that my officers did not expect and could not always answer. You have treated my crew with a consistency of respect that does not vary based on rank or species. She finally looked up. I have been watching, Lieutenant. It is what commanders do. And the door, I said carefully. I heard your footstep in the corridor, she said. I knew it was you before you opened it. Kethari doors are not silent. The star charts moved between us. Somewhere in the ship, a bell tone marked the hour. You let me in, I said. I made a choice, she said. I want you to understand that it was a choice, not a custom. The custom gave me the framework. The choice was mine. I looked at her, at the green eyes that had found mine across a room 9 days into what I had thought was a diplomatic assignment and was apparently something more complicated. And I thought about the 17 cultural errors, and the 15 corrections, and the 9 days of learning a ship that was not built for me.